What if I told you that the Bible we all know might be missing crucial details about the creation, the lives of the patriarchs, and even the laws of God himself? The Book of Jubilees, preserved in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, claims to fill in the gaps, revealing hidden stories and adding deeper insight into God's divine plan. But here's the thing. This book was banned from most of the Christian world. In today's video, we'll be uncovering the mysterious Book of Jubilees, also known as Little Genesis, and exploring why its 50 chapters were excluded from the mainstream Christian Bible. This ancient text holds lost details about the Genesis narrative, giving us a cosmic perspective on how angels, heavenly time, and hidden commandments were passed down to humanity. But the book didn't just stop there. It even insists that the calendar most of the world follows is wrong and that time itself was given a sacred structure by God that few follow today. So why was this ancient text rejected by the early church? What secrets does it contain that were deemed too controversial for mainstream Christianity? The Book of Jubilees begins with a retelling of the creation story that we know from Genesis, but it goes far beyond what most Bibles include. According to Jubilees, when God created the world, He didn't just bring life into being. He also set up the very structure of time itself, aligning it with His divine order. This is where the concept of sacred time comes in. Unlike the traditional calendar most of us follow, the Book of Jubilees introduces a precise solar calendar overseen by heavenly angels that governs the cosmic cycles of the universe. This isn't just about counting days. This is about living in perfect alignment with God's will. Jubilees claims that humanity was meant to follow this divine calendar, which consists of 364 days divided into 4 seasons of exactly 91 days each. This structure ensures that sacred days like the Sabbath and festivals always fall on the correct date. It's a perfect system, but it's one that the rest of the world has forgotten. In the Book of Genesis, the story begins with the creation of the earth. But Jubilees gives us an even bigger picture. Before the world was even formed, angels were created on the first day of creation. These angels play a crucial role in the governance of the universe, including the regulation of time and seasons. The Book of Jubilees reveals that these angels were assigned specific duties by God, with some overseeing natural phenomena like the movements of the heavens and others serving as messengers and guardians of God's laws. This idea of angels controlling the heavens is something we also see in other ancient texts. However, the Book of Jubilees emphasizes how these angelic beings help maintain order in the universe, ensuring that the sun, moon, and stars follow their divine paths. For God ordained that the sun should keep its course according to the divisions of the seasons, Jubilees 2:9. These angels don't just watch over humanity, they control the very fabric of time. When humans fall out of alignment with God's time, it leads to chaos, a theme that plays a central role throughout the Book of Jubilees. One of the most controversial elements of the Book of Jubilees is its insistence that the world should follow a solar calendar, not the lunar calendar that many ancient cultures, including the Israelites, eventually adopted. According to Jubilees, the solar calendar is the only correct way to measure time because it aligns perfectly with God's divine order. The book explains that the solar year consists of 364 days, divided into 52 perfect weeks. Each season, spring, summer, fall, and winter, contains exactly 13 weeks or 91 days. This system ensures that the Sabbath and other sacred festivals are always observed on the correct days each year. This solar calendar is strikingly similar to the Ethiopian calendar, which is still used today by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Ethiopian year is divided into 13 months, 12 months of 30 days, with an additional month called Pagum consisting of 5 or 6 days to make up the difference. Could it be that the Ethiopian calendar is one of the few modern systems that still reflect the sacred time described in Jubilees? In contrast, the lunar calendar, which was adopted by many cultures in the ancient world, including the Israelites, is seen as a corruption of this divine order. The lunar calendar is irregular, causing the months and festivals to shift over time. Jubilees warns that this deviation from the solar calendar leads to spiritual disorder. There will be those who will surely make observations of the moon, but they will disturb the seasons and make an abominable day the day of testimony, Jubilees 6:37. For Jubilees, following the lunar calendar is not just a mistake, it's a form of disobedience to God's will. The book suggests that by returning to the solar calendar, humanity can realign itself with the divine rhythms set in motion at the creation of the world. The Book of Jubilees reaffirms the traditional six-day creation narrative found in Genesis, but it goes into more detail about the first Sabbath. According to Jubilees, God didn't just rest on the seventh day. He sanctified it as a divine institution, an eternal law that was given to both humans and angels. The Sabbath is seen as the foundation of time, a day that was set apart at the beginning of creation and meant to be observed forever. This idea of the Sabbath as a cosmic principle is critical in Jubilees. Not only does it govern the weekly cycle, but it also ties into the larger structure of time, including the Jubilee cycles of 49 years. These cycles are meant to bring the world back into harmony with God's order, offering a period of rest, release, and renewal for the land, the people, and even the angelic realm. For he sanctified the seventh day and blessed it for all times as a sign of holiness for all his works. Jubilees 2:1. The emphasis on the Sabbath as an eternal law shows how Jubilees is not just retelling the Genesis story, it's revealing the hidden significance behind the cycles of time that govern all of creation. The Book of Jubilees tells us that Adam was created on the sixth day, just as described in Genesis, but it adds a new layer to his story. According to Jubilees, after creating Adam, God gave him specific commandments right from the beginning, laws that included the observance of the Sabbath, purity laws, and the rules concerning marriage and worship. These laws, delivered by angels, were to be followed by Adam and his descendants as part of the covenant God made with humanity. While Genesis mentions God's direct interactions with Adam, Jubilees introduces angelic beings as mediators who teach Adam how to follow God's commandments. These angels, particularly those known as the angels of the presence, ensure that Adam and Eve understand the laws of holiness, sacrifice, and moral conduct. And on the sixth day of the second week, we brought, according to the word of God, to Adam all the beasts and all the cattle and all the birds and everything that moves on the earth and everything that moves in the water according to their kinds and according to their kinds. The beasts on the first day, and the cattle on the second day, and the birds on the third day, and everything that moves on the earth on the fourth day, and whatever moves in the water on the fifth day. Jubilees 3:1-2. This angelic interaction was meant to reinforce the idea that God's law is not just a human invention but part of the heavenly order. The angels taught Adam that he must observe God's laws as an eternal covenant, just as they observed the same laws in the heavenly realm. Could it be that God's laws, passed down through angels, were given to humans long before Moses received the Ten Commandments? And what might we learn from these ancient laws? If you're curious about the laws God gave to Adam and how they compare to the laws of Moses, let us know in the comments. Should we dive deeper into the ancient commandments passed down from the earliest days of creation? After the fall of Adam and Eve, Jubilees adds new insight into the story of their children, Cain and Abel. While Genesis tells us that Cain killed Abel, the Book of Jubilees provides additional details about the events that followed. Cain's murder of Abel is seen as the first major breach of God's law, a sin that leads to spiritual consequences for all of humanity. But while Cain is cast out, Jubilees emphasizes that the righteous line of humanity continues through Seth, Adam's third son. In Jubilees, Seth is portrayed as a figure of righteousness who is taught to follow the laws handed down by the angels. This sets the stage for the later descendants, including Noah, to continue the covenant with God. The story of Noah and the flood is well known from Genesis, but the Book of Jubilees offers additional revelations about what happened before and after the Great Flood. In Jubilees, the focus is not just on Noah's survival but on the covenant God establishes with him afterward, a covenant that emphasizes the importance of purity, righteousness, and observing God's laws. Before the flood, Jubilees delves deeper into the corruption of the earth, particularly focusing on the Nephilim, the offspring of fallen angels and human women. While Genesis 6 verses 1-4 briefly mentions the Nephilim, Jubilees provides more context, showing how these giants contributed to the wickedness that led God to cleanse the earth with the flood. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, like men and cattle and beasts and birds, and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. Jubilees 5:2. This moral decay was not just due to human sin but also due to the influence of fallen angels who introduced forbidden knowledge and corrupted the natural order. God's response is swift. He sends the flood to wipe out this corruption, but he preserves Noah and his family because of their righteousness. After the flood, Jubilees reveals that God didn't just promise never to flood the earth. Again, he also established a new covenant with Noah that included specific laws of purity and sacrifice. These laws, which were later passed down to the Israelites, were intended to help humanity maintain holiness and avoid the corruption that led to the flood. One key detail in Jubilees is that Noah was instructed to observe the Sabbath and follow the same laws given to Adam about sacrifice and purity. This covenant marked a new beginning for humanity, but it also emphasized the importance of remaining obedient to God's laws to prevent further judgment. That's all for this video for now. If you found this information interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And don't miss part 2 to know the rest of the story.